Thank you so much for coming back to our community for the 4th season of the Get Set podcast.
And if you're brand new to the pod, welcome. We couldn't be happier that you've tuned in with us.
This season, we tackle the art of multi-hyphenate and how to make networking work for you.
Speaking of networking, we have major news coming soon. We can't spill just yet, but when we do, the tea will be piping hot.
So hot. I can't wait.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Old Girls Entertainment and join our community over on Patreon at patreon.com/oldgirlsentertainment for our brand new After Hours special where we debrief some of our favorite takeaways from each episode with our fabulous guests this season.
Welcome to season 4 of the Get Set podcast, an Old Girls Entertainment production. We are ecstatic to be here and sharing our experiences as women in the TV and film industry. Today on the pod, we have our co-host, myself, Jessica Payne, and
Monique Schwaneman. And our guest today is STEPHANIE Szostak. Stephanie is an actress who's appeared in many projects you will recognize, like ABC's A Million Little Things, Dinner for Schmucks, Iron Man 3, and Devil Wears Prada.
And today you can see Stephanie starring alongside William H. Macy and John Corbett in an inspiring new film, Soul on Fire, from Sony, out in theaters now. The film is inspired by the true story and the 2016 best-selling book, On Fire, by John O'Leary. John O'Leary's story begins with his miracle recovery from a near-death accident when he was 9 years old. John endures an unbelievable road to recovery with the support of his family and community in his fight for survival.
In addition to her absolutely incredible acting work, Stephanie is an author and wrote a mental health book, Selfish. Step into a journey of self-discovery to revive confidence, joy, and meaning, which celebrated its 2-year anniversary of its release this week on October 10th, which happens to be World Mental Health Day. Her book, Selfish, was written with the mental health organization Give an Hour, and 50% of the proceeds benefit the charity. Welcome to the pod, Stephanie.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for this.
Yes, thank you
so
much. So let's start at the beginning. Where do you call home and how did you get into the industry?
I call home now Connecticut, but I'm originally from France. I grew up there for my first 19 years. So when I go back to France, I also feel in my heart like, oh, I'm back home.
Mm-hmm.
And how I got into the industry was really a long road that was accidental almost. I took my first acting class at 29 years old. I went to school and studied business out of default, majored in marketing. That led to me working at Chanel in New York City, kind of like the dream girl job because I had access to the closet where you had free makeup and free skincare. And I mean, it's kind of like the Devil Wears Prada.
You lived it.
Yeah, exactly. And see, who knew? Like years later, that would come in handy. Yeah. But there was something about the office life that even though I love the job, I love my coworkers, there was something that wasn't really fulfilling. I don't know if that word would have come to my mind at the time, but I had an opportunity to do a modeling job through Chanel, and I said yes. And that led me to leave a steady paycheck job to actually join a modeling agency, even though I knew that was not at all something I wanted to do for, long term. But it was kind of like, well, maybe I can make just as much money as I'm making in this entry-level job modeling, and that might lead to something else. And I guess that planted, doing photo shoots was kind of like playing a character because it wasn't certainly not me because I was really uncomfortable in front of the camera. And then I was like, oh, maybe I should take an acting class. I should take an acting class. I really should take an acting class. And it took me 3 years to actually listen to that little voice. And so I was 29. I took a theater class in New York City. And then I was like, I need to pursue this. And I didn't know this is going to be my job, my career. It was just like, this makes me feel amazing inside and I just need to keep doing this.
Yeah, well, Amazing. It definitely paid off because you're absolutely incredible. I know it started before your career started once you were already here, but how did that transition moving to the States go and like establishing a life here? Because I know we have listeners from all over. Do you have any advice for that?
Yeah, so I moved. I was young. I was 19. Came to college. Went to school at William and Mary in Virginia, and I played golf, collegiate Division I golf. My dad's American, so I thought this is going to be an easy transition. It turned out it was not at all easy. Even though I had been in the States, the culture shock was really brutal. I mean, I remember my first week there, it's orientation and you don't do anything during orientation. It's kind of like this weird no man's land time where you're just getting to know people. And two girls knocked on my door and were like, hey, we're having a little party for August birthdays. We know your birthday's in August and we're ordering pizza. And what's your favorite topping? And I'm doing this voice because I'm from France. And, we were very much like this. And I was like, why are these girls smiling all the time and so excited? And I'm not ranking on American. It's just like when you come from a different culture, everything seems so odd. And so they asked me this question. I'm like, topping? What is a topping? And so they explained. And I was like, oh, yes, egg is my favorite topping. And they were like, an egg?
Is it really? Yeah.
Yes.
On pizza?
You're like, what planet are you from?
Wait, yeah.
Yeah. And then another time, I was at a party and we were playing games. There were guys and girls who were playing games where you had to finish each other's sentences. And somebody said, yummy, yummy, feels good in my... You guys know it.
Yeah, tummy.
Tummy, yeah.
Yeah.
But nope. I heard that and I was like, oh, I know this. And right away I said, in my vagina.
Very French.
Very French. And funny years later, but at the time, I felt like I didn't know how to be me. I felt in a different culture, in a different language. I also had an older brother who was sick at the time. He struggled with drug addiction, heroin. And
I'm so sorry.
We found out, thank you, when I was there that he had cirrhosis and had hepatitis C and was HIV positive. And it was at a time, in the 90s, people were really afraid, HIV, AIDS, they were not educated. And so I didn't want to tell anyone. And so I was dealing with all this feeling inside and really just not telling anyone. I learned later that when you feel like crap, it's good to confine in people. But my instinct at 19 years old was just like push through. You can do this. That was my idea of what being tough meant. And so it was really tough. And I actually left and went back home my sophomore year for a year abroad at home in Paris.
Yeah, well, if it's needed, that's for your mental health. Absolutely. I think this is perfect to talk about your book, which is all about mental health. How did that come to be, your book, Selfish?
Well, it's really cool that you're asking this now because, I eventually went back to Mary and graduated and obviously I met my husband who's American when I was in Paris that year abroad. So
oh wow, interesting that you met in
there's
Paris.
always, you never know where the pivots lead you. They can lead you to beautiful things. When I started acting for the first 10 years, I really hustled. I didn't have anything to lose. The odds were kind of stacked against me, but I didn't care. I was just like, I love this. This is great. And then after 10 years, I got a huge break. I actually signed with a big manager whose name is Estelle, just like Joey's agent in Friends.
Love that. Iconic.
And thanks to Estelle, I got my first lead role in a big motion, a studio movie called Dinner for Schmucks. And it was a great auditioning process. But once I got on that set with Paul Rudd, Steve Carell, Jermaine Clement, being directed by Jay Roach, everybody was so nice. Jay was like, "This, you're going to be great. You're great." All this positive reinforcement, you would think, okay, good. Now do your stuff, do your thing. But I actually, that paralyzed me. I completely lost my confidence. I felt, holy shit, I don't belong here. These people are so much more talented, educated, craft-wise, more successful, funnier. I felt like a complete fraud. And that translated into deep anxiety. I didn't know this was anxiety at the time, but your heart racing, your legs shaking, really worried about what other people were thinking, looking for validation. Basically, my whole self-value was all about or all based on what I thought other people thought of me. And I was so stuck in my head, it paralyzed my freedom to act, to take risk, to play. It also made me not feel confident when I talked to people. I felt like I couldn't be myself. And at the time, I thought my problem is I can't handle pressure. I'm a choker. But really, what I learned later was I didn't have the tools, the mental tools to navigate a new environment that had a lot of pressure. So it took me 2 years, really, after this first movie to eventually address my mental game and learn how to better navigate the ups and downs of your emotions and live more authentically, yada, 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 yada. And so fast forward the book, where does the book come from? During COVID, when we were all stuck at home and we didn't really know what tomorrow was going to be like, the mental health nonprofit Give an Hour, who I had met on A Million Little Things, asked me, what do you do for your well-being? And I said, well, we're all different. We all have different rituals, practices, tools. I'm not really interested in sharing that because, again, we're all different. What works for you might not work for me. But one unique thing that I do is I created a playbook for myself. And so I don't know about you, but when we read something or we hear something and we're like, oh my gosh, I love this. I need to remember this. I need to live by this. And we might do it for 2 weeks and then we forget. And even more when we're having a hard, week, month, whatever, I revert to my old unsupportive thoughts. So it was actually my husband's idea. He was going through his own thing. He was like, we should have a playbook, just like sports coaches, have playbooks. They don't rely on memory to remember the things. And I was like, oh my God, this is genius. And the mental health nonprofit loved this. So we did a webinar series for their community. And then that led later to writing a workbook to help people come up with their own content for their playbook. And it's just 8 exercises of self-discovery, exercises that I've, helped me a lot and that I hope will help people.
Oh, absolutely. I love that idea too, that this is something that, you can write in, you could take with you everywhere. It does help for those moments when you have those thoughts, because personally, my notes app in my iPhone is insane. And then you're right. Like, do I go back to it? Does it get lost in my grocery list and everything else? So it's nice that people can have your playbook and write down all those thoughts, and they know they can always go back to it in that space.
Well, the idea is you use the workbook, but then you create your playbook as an album in your photos on your phone. Or I actually created an app that is in beta that's free, where you can create your playbook too. And you can download it on selfishplaybook.com. Because the idea is your playbook is a living thing. I just help you get started, but you're going to keep editing it, through the years. It's like having this living thing that evolves with you as you continue to grow. And the way I do it is I hit play in the morning, choose music, and then it's like playing to a soundtrack. So it's, do you know, like the grandmother's quilts that have fabrics that come from all different, yes. So the patchwork, they're all different fabrics that come from different areas of your life, right? And each individually might connect you to a person or to a moment in your life. But when you look at it all together, stitched together, it tells a very unique story, and the sum of all those pieces is greater than each piece individually. And so your playbook, it has all these reminders, not only things that you read, but also moments from your life, moments you're proud of, that you can go back to, that remind you that you've survived hard things. But then there's also things that make you laugh in it. And so it's this patchwork, and the whole thing together really not only lifts my mood, but helps you remember, and over time change, like how I found myself when I'm on set. Now, if I get the negative thought, I'll remember something from my playbook, and I'm like, oh, nope, that's how I counter that thought in the moment.
I love that analogy.
Rewire your brain.
Yeah, I also feel like, I mean, Mo knows this. I am notorious for forgetting all the things that I've done. And we always, when we bring people on as well, and I'm like, oh yeah, I have done those cool things. How did I forget about that? Which does, like, you know, kind of get in the way of like seeing why you're of value to people, especially in this type of industry, when you're up against people where you so clearly see their value. Sometimes you forget about your own. I also think even when we do the podcast and we bring people on and we read their introductions, like, it's one of those things where it's like we're hitting all the amazing things that they've done, and they're like, whoa, you know, like they even have this moment of like, wow, I like forgot I did all that, or like,
absolutely,
that's crazy. I don't know.
I had that just now. I'm like,
right.
Wow, that's a highlight reel. Is that me?
Yeah.
Wait a second. But it's so true when we don't remember what we've achieved. And I'll go even it's not just the achievements and the wins,
absolutely,
but also some of the hard things, like for my college, my freshman year. Like at the time I felt it was a failure, but now when I look back, I'm like, I first of all, I listened to myself. I went back home, but I didn't drop out of college. So all these things tell me something about my strength and my resilience. And when I find myself, now, like the Dinner for Schmuck story is exactly the same as the William and Mary first year. It was a new environment and kind of losing your footing. So if you take time to look at your own life and see sort of these big milestones, it allows you to see the patterns, but then see the strength that you have in you, that you've already used to help you make your way through challenges. It also helps you see how much you've done for others. We forget how much we help people. That's also part of our highlight reel.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think too, especially because that's something that you personally experience, you experience all the minutia, all the details, and that's kind of like logged in your brain. And sometimes like the overarching journey is the thing that's almost like forgotten, of like, hey, I did get through this. But like when you take a step back and you look at your whole quilt, you're like, oh, I've done all these. That's great analogy. Love that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I also love the title of your book, because recently it's been told to me that the word selfish is not a bad word. And I'd kind of grown up thinking that it was. I mean, absolutely. And still kind of feeling that way and having mom guilt when I take those little, moments for myself and being like, man, I could have done all these other things with those 15 minutes, but actually I just needed to sit down for a few minutes, or else I literally can't function. So I like that you're, kind of taking over that word and recapturing it and, giving it a different spin to what the normal connotation of it is.
Yeah, it was, obviously nobody wants to be self-centered and selfish, really, but it was a branding agency suggested it to me, and when I saw it, I was like, well, that's clearly not going to be the name of my book. But then it really stuck in my head, and then I thought, one of the most important relationships we have is the one we have with ourselves, and if we can really, again, take time to learn how to be more purposeful, accept who we are with the dark and the light. All the work we do as actors, where we have to, as an actor, you can't judge your character, right? You have to study your character, learn what they want, what are their biggest challenges, what are their strengths, their weaknesses, but you can't judge them, because if you judge them, then you can't portray them truthfully. And we need to do that with our own lives. And when we do that, I think when we come to peace with who we are, we accept who we are fully, we make a game plan for how we want to show up for ourselves, but also for others, then we can actually be better for the people in our lives. It's kind of like the oxygen mask. You can't be good for your daughter if you're not sleeping, if you're not taking time to recharge. So I call it self-ish.
Yeah. There's also the way it's spelled is self exclamation point and then SH. Do you have what was the meaning behind that?
Yeah, so there was like the idea of self and then ish.
Yeah.
And the exclamation point is you, and there's a little crown on top of the exclamation point, and like be the own queen of your life, you know?
Yeah.
There's so much of I lived in autopilot for the longest time. So like wake up from living automatically on autopilot.
Yeah. Speaking of all the mental health, so obviously you got brought onto this movie. Can you explain a little bit of like what brought you into the O'Leary story?
Yeah, so it's called Soul on Fire, and it's the true story of John O'Leary. And the way I learned about John's story was my husband 15 years ago went to a company event, and there was a speaker. You know, they always hire speakers. Well, this time my husband said everybody in the audience was bawling, and he came home with a DVD and told me and my son, who was 7 at the time, our oldest, and he said, you guys have got to watch this man's story. It's unbelievable. My son is now 22. He still remembers this story. And John was burnt as a 9-year-old child. He was playing with fire in his garage, and the can of gasoline exploded. And the house was set on fire. He was set on fire. He was burnt 100% from the neck down, and had 0.5% chance of surviving that first night in the hospital. Today, like you said, he's one of the most inspirational speaker in the country. He speaks abroad. He wrote best-selling books and has a podcast. His story is fascinating because he says that his recovery, his healing didn't come from him, but from all the people around him who played a crucial role, from his family to the nurses to the whole community, from, you know, big impact to little impact. And the way he tells your story, it's kind of a mirror to our own lives, and you realize then all the people in our lives who help us. And I don't know, he's the most inspiring people that I've ever met because he reminds me that we can all have an impact in people's lives. So anyway, I followed him. I read his book. I listened to his podcast. And then when I did A Million Little Things, I had a publicist, and my husband said, you should ask the publicist to pitch you for the John O'Leary podcast. And so I wrote him a letter explaining what an impact he had in our lives. And he said, yes, come on the podcast. We had a great conversation, like you and I are having now. He kind of opened me up. It was my first podcast ever. I was very nervous. And at the end of the podcast, when we stopped recording, he said, you know, one day they're going to make a movie out of my book, and I will call you to be in that movie. And I was like, oh, that's so nice. And inside I was like, yeah, right. But sure enough, 2 years ago, I got a text from John. He actually we kept in touch. He wrote the foreword to my book.
Amazing.
And then 2 years ago, he texted me and he said, hey, do you know a cute brunette who could play my mom in the movie? And I was like, holy smokes. Yes, I'm here and I'm honored. His mom is like a force of nature. So it's been an amazing gift. Yeah.
Were you able to meet her?
Yeah.
Yeah. How was that, like portraying a, real life person and being able to actually research them face to face?
Yeah, I had never ever done that before, and But I had a lot of, I was like, oh my God, I have to honor Susan O'Leary. But I worked with the dialect coach because, I'm French and she's from
Mm-hmm.
St. Louis. And the dialect coach had me not just work on voice and accent, she also had me study her on film without sound and just on slow motion and watch how she moves her mouth. And it turns out how we move our mouths, there's a lot of, it tells a lot about who we are. Maybe, if our lips are tensed, so I learned a lot doing that. And then the greatest gift was, meeting her in person on set. We saw each other for the first time. We both cried right away.
Yeah.
And then she was on set a lot with her husband, Denny, who he had Parkinson's disease for 30 years and just passed away. I mean, this family has gone through a lot, but it was amazing to have her there. When you're on a set, you can get caught into the rhythm of action cut and we're doing a movie, but then I would see John or his mom and dad and I was like, this is not just a movie. This is somebody's story, and get back into the moment right now.
Yeah, and he had a lot of siblings, correct? Did you see any of the rest of the family too?
Yeah,
Or
6, one
wow,
of 6. They came to set.
wow.
Um, it's a special family.
What do you hope that audiences take away after seeing you portray Susan's story in particular, or her role as the matriarch of this family that's going through this event?
Well, I know what I took out of it. I don't know what people will think. But
Yeah, let us
as
know.
a mom, I was so shocked by, she's loving, obviously, unbelievably loving, but she also at times gave John tough love.
Yep.
And I it made me reflect on my own life and the people who gave me tough love. It made me reflect on me as a mother, how tough love sometimes is important. As moms, we don't want to see our kids suffer. We want to help them. We want to solve the problems. But so I'll give you a couple of examples of what she did. Um, when they came, he spent 5 months in the hospital and had multiple surgeries, and his fingers were amputated. And when he came back, he had, he didn't know how to eat, how to hold a fork. And his sibling wanted to help him at the dinner table. And she said, this is the exact line, I think is not in the movie, but she actually said, no, don't help him. If he's hungry, he'll figure out how to eat. And then the little sister was like, Mom, like when everybody's gone from the table, he's still there at the table trying to figure out how to eat. And the little sister's like, Mom, what are you doing? And she said, do you want to feed him for the rest of his life? Or do you want him to learn how to feed himself? And
Yeah.
so the little sister was like, okay. And that's one example. And another example is a few months later, he still wasn't back in school. He couldn't walk yet. And one day he heard a knock on the door and he recognized the voice of the piano teacher. And he was like, what is Mrs. Whitaker doing here? And his mom said, it's time for your piano lesson. And when he talks about the story, he said, I hated my mother in that
Mm.
moment. But now when he gives speeches, he goes onto the piano and he plays Coldplay and he knows how to play the piano. But I mean, it can seem so brutal, that story, but I think sometimes we need somebody to help us believe that we can do something when we don't believe it. And his reality was shattered. He All the dreams that he had as a little boy, play baseball, all those things, was like, I can't live the life that I thought I was going to live. And I think this tough love that she gave was like, you are going to find a way to live your life to the fullest and to do the things that you think you cannot do. You're going to find a way to do them.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, it's great. I just think it's so crazy that she had that foresight, like, right away, because it does seem like right away, like, as soon as he was in the clear, she was like, "All right, you figure it out," sort of thing.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, and then there's another story. So she wanted to, help him try to write again. And the motivation was you need to learn to hold your pencil and write so you can go back to school because he was out of school. And she told Jack Buck, I don't know if you're a sports fan, but Jack Buck was like a famous, legendary baseball announcer in the St. Louis area who actually came to visit John again and again in the hospital. He didn't know him. He just heard about this little boy who wasn't supposed to make it and went there. And Jack Buck sent a baseball that was autographed by one of the team players, and it had a card that said, if you want another baseball, just write a thank you card to the player, and you'll get another ball. And that's how he learned how to write again.
Massive motivation for a baseball fan.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. Better than let's go back to school.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And in this movie, in Soul on Fire, you're acting alongside powerhouses like yourself, like William H. Macy from Fargo and Shameless, and John Corbett from My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and To All the Boys I've Loved Before. What was your favorite part about leading this cast with them?
There was no ego on that set. It was
Beautiful.
really cool. I remember getting in. First of all, we all stayed in this hotel that was not a fancy hotel. There was no, different treatment for movie stars, and we all got to set on a van. There was no individual rides, and I remember being. It was 5 a.m. pickup call. And William H. Macy got in the van and he sat next to me. And, I didn't know how he was going to be. And all of a sudden he starts chatting about life at 5 a.m. in the morning and telling me about his teaching days at NYU. And then he had a ukulele on set and came up with songs that were kind of funny and a little maybe inappropriate. Some sexy songs. So it was a serious storyline, but there was a lot of playfulness, and I think everyone was just happy to be there because they were all touched by this story. And it took 2 years for the movie to be picked up by a studio, and we just had the premiere. Everybody came. William H. Macy came, and it was in St. Louis. I don't know. It's really cool.
Yeah, and the through line for that too is that you started this path by making that human connection with someone.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
You end up, working on a story that you feel passionate about because this person inspired you, and then that makes sense that on set you would be surrounded by good people, talented people who are willing to make that human connection as well.
Yeah.
Off screen.
I mean, that's why we do what we do, right? Storytelling, human connecting to our own hearts and the hearts of others.
Absolutely. Is there, without giving too much away,
yeah,
we've seen it. We love it. We want everyone to go see it. But
did you see it?
Yeah. We got a screener. We were so excited. Yeah, your people contacted our people. It was great.
Nice.
It was wonderful. So without giving too much away, what is your favorite part of the final cut of I don't know how you could do that without giving too much away, but is there a favorite moment, or even acting wise, is there something that you remember on set like, oh, that was a really great day, or I'm really proud of this?
I think all the scenes in the hospitals for me were is that bad that I'm going to say I'm kind of proud?
No, you did great. Yeah,
you sold it.
Yeah, you were really great.
My son, when he was 4 years old, my oldest son had an rare infectious disease called Kawasaki disease. And we spent 5 days in the hospital, and it was the scariest 5 days. We didn't know what was wrong. We didn't know if he was going to be okay. I mean, it was really scary. And so thinking that they spent 5 months and they thought he wasn't going to make it from day one. I don't know. Those, as a mom, I think there's a lot of us who spend time in the hospitals, whether it's for our kids or for our parents, or this woman, I just met her. her brother got into a horrible motorcycle accident. There's also something, for a long time, my brother spent a lot of time in hospitals. I couldn't go in hospitals without feeling sick to my stomach. It made me, this movie also made me look at the nurses. Every time I spent time in a hospital, I think now I see what an important role the nurses have. Even in the movie, they talk about the janitor who's there cleaning his room every day. And the doctor says he's the most important person because if a burnt victim has an infection, it's fatal. I don't know why I'm rambling about this, but I think it's just seeing when you're in that spot, you feel so helpless. You're in a hospital and all the people that come together to give you support, to help you heal. It's nice. The movie, I think, really does a good job. That's John who's behind that voice of thanking all the people who come to help us when our life is turned upside down.
Yeah, well, and just full circle, you know, again with him saying in the beginning of just that it was about his community and the people around him that really helped him get through it. I mean, from the actual accident in the hospital and all of that into later in his life. And I think the movie like for sure portrays that. Like that's the one thing I think I got out of it was how many helping hands he had to like make his life, like livable and him thriving as well.
Yeah.
Beyond.
He says it's not really about me, but yeah, did it make you think of your own life and all the people who, like your Jack Buck or your nurse Roy?
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's interesting that you do, highlight those hospital scenes, because that was one of my first thoughts, hearing that he spent 5 months in there, was that they have 5 other children. They can't possibly be here all the time. So as a parent, also thinking about your child battling and fighting for their life and physically not being able to be there the whole time is gut-wrenching as well.
Yeah.
So you are really relying on your community because, if parents have to work or take care of other family members, it is all on the nurses or the janitorial staff and your doctors and everyone there. But absolutely.
Yeah, I think they were there. They were there. Like Susan was there every day, but their other kids didn't have their parents as much.
Right.
And so the community like took kids in and took care of their other kids.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Because we say in this day and age, like it takes a village, but especially, I know, you're on the East Coast, but we're in LA and it's, we have our 2 kids, but it's just me and my husband. And like, that's pretty much it. So it's kind of, so you have to find that community and build that community. I think it's a little harder in this day and age. So it's kind of nice that this film, makes us think about, oh no, I do have these people around me, even when it feels like you can be alone, but if something really happened, who are the people that I would go to? And, it is.
Yeah. And I think it is
those people when you think of it.
A good reminder too. Cause I feel like a lot of the, younger generation, everything it's a lot of like feeling very transactional, like, I mean, people use this example all the time where it's, instead of, asking a friend to drive you to the airport, you'd take an Uber because you don't want to inconvenience people. But I mean, sometimes people like to be inconvenienced. That's where you like build your community and then you can, pay it forward and everything. So
yeah, I love that. It's also when you're not doing well, I know I'm guilty of that. You don't want to bother people
right
with your problems.
But also always just remembering too, when someone bothers you for it,
yes.
like you feel so good. You're like, oh my God, they came to me and I like got to help them. Like,
yes,
that's a feeling that's like, I don't know, mutually beneficial.
We need to remember that when we hesitate when we're afraid to bother people, or maybe we're also afraid to be vulnerable. And yeah. I have 2 friends who I don't from college. I don't speak to them that often, but when shit hits the fan, I call that, and it's weird. Like when they call me, I'm also like, okay, what's going on?
Let's be on the phone for 3 hours. Yep.
Oh, I definitely have trauma bonded friends.
But we're gonna be on the phone the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as you mentioned, you have two wonderful children, and I saw on social media you've been married for 29 years.
Holy shit.
Which is insane because that's like your age. When you look at you, I'm like, wait, that's impossible.
Oh,
First of all,
thank you.
But so we would love to know, how do you maintain that work-life balance, and how do you how do you make it all work with the success in the career that you've achieved?
Balance is such an illusion. I mean, I think there's never balance. Like right now, I haven't worked in so long, so I'm home. There's long periods of unemployment as an actor. The great thing is if you have kids, then you can be home with your kids. So there, the balance becomes how can you express your creativity even when you're not acting or writing, or like find ways to be creative. Um, but then when I get a job and I'm on set for 9 months in a different, in Vancouver, and I live in Connecticut, there's no balance there either. I don't see my kids as much, but my husband is there. I think having his support, like I didn't want to take that job, A Million Little Things, that was in Vancouver, because it was so far away, and we were on the phone with the producer. We were holding I had my cell phone, and my husband was listening with me to what the producer was saying. He was so nice, saying, "I'm a family man. We're all family people. You'll be able to go back and forth." And I was looking at my husband with still, it's in Vancouver. And he was like, do it. It will be an adventure. So actually, I think balance is overrated. When we're out of balance, it means we're doing something out of our routine. If we were balanced all the time, we're just going, doing the same thing all the time. So maybe when we're out of balance, is like, okay, this is good. I'm doing something different, and I need to figure out how to. Maybe balance is about how can we be ourselves? How can we be our healthy selves in the midst of unstable grounds? That's more what balance we need to achieve,
Yeah. And actually, Mo and I just talked about this not too long ago. We were chatting and we were saying because I struggle with balance. I'm like, I want to be able to read my book and do my writing and then work on my creative stuff and then I want to do all that in one day. And I'm like, that's not there's no way. It's not possible to do all those things. But sometimes it is just balance is you take a month, or you take a job for 4 months, and that's your life for those 4 months, especially in this industry. Cause they're 16-hour days or something crazy, and then you're off for 2 months of it. And you're kind of that's when you can find maybe creativity or, working with your family or whatever. So balance can also not necessarily mean within the day or the week, but, maybe more so in the year or a 10-year, 10-year span as well.
Yeah, but I also think thank you for bringing that up. As a writer, or for the day-to-day balance, I think I do something. It's in the book. There's an exercise called "What are your daily wins?" And it's creating 10 things that are in your control, that will help you, move the needle in the right direction for you. So maybe one of those 10 things is taking an hour to write, and you don't need to do those. The way it was explained to me is you may have 10 daily wins, but it's not a to-do list. You don't have to do 100%. But
Absolutely.
if you keep track of those things, and you get 60%, 70%, 50%, you're going to feel like you're going to get momentum, and you're going to start practicing the things that you want to practice. So we need to bring intention into our lives. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
the demands of the day are going to take over. And especially as women, we're going to take care of ourselves last. And then we feel like crap because we're like, see, I'm not taking the time to write. I know all that stuff.
That is so true.
Yes.
That is the biggest hurdle currently. That is so true. The ongoing to-do list and all the things that I really want to do are at the bottom. It's like, no, that was really crucial for me. Wait.
Yeah, so make a little.
2
I do it. It's a wheel. I have a wheel, and there's like 10 little things, and you can stick it in your front of your computer. And it's not just things for me, calling my parents is on there, drinking water, like stupid little things, but that I forget to do.
Yeah.
If I don't look at this thing, I'm drinking water now.
I know, I'm so bad at that
Your
too.
reminder, all the listeners, drink your water.
I have to carry it around with me all the time or I won't.
Yes.
It's
Go
so
to
bad.
pee when you have to pee. Stop holding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us. Soul on Fire is out in theaters. Are there any words to our listeners, any last words about Soul on Fire other than you have to go see it?
Go to see it in the theaters with your family. Bring your family if your kids are, I'd say 9, 8, 9.
Yeah.
Experience it with the community. It's a movie about community. So experience it as a community.
You know what? I do have one more question for you. In terms of your career, do you have any like aspirations that you are looking forward to in the future? Is there any like thing with acting or filmmaking at all that you haven't tackled yet? Yeah, or another book?
No, I mean, acting is really my passion.
Mm-hmm.
I love it, and I haven't worked in a while. It's really hard as actors, I think, at any point in our careers. We're not in control of when we can work next. So I'm just really looking forward to working. I'd love to. I only did 3 plays in my life. This was really early on in my career, because then as a mom of young kids, I was like, I don't want to miss bath time and dinner time. And so I'd love to do a play.
Ooh.
My kids are grown. I'm ready to travel or do a play.
Rehearsals now.
Yeah. Let us know when you get that play, and then we'll plug it.
Come.
All right.
We'll come too.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Amazing. Manifesting that for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Soul on Fire is in theaters now. Also, you can get Selfish, I believe, on Amazon, right? We'll leave a link.
We're gonna leave
below.
A link in the show notes.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you so much for coming on the pod. It was a lovely talking to you.
Thank you so much for what you do and inspiring people.
Of course. All right. Now, go get set.